Hey guys, in this video we are going to talk about not just how to whip and scrub in motocross, but more importantly, when are you actually ready to even start practicing whips and scrub? It's a question that is not asked often enough and definitely not answered often enough on YouTube. There are very few coaches that have made a useful video about what you need to be able to do in order to be ready to do whips in motocross. This is a famous skill, you know, everybody wants to learn it. So even yesterday I was asked by one of my students that was totally entry level. I was asked, so how do you whip? And you know, it's quite funny because there's a whole lot of things you need to have in place first. So I made a list of 7 checkpoints that you want to be able to check off your list. Things you're able to do, like your habits when you're riding your motocross bike, before you even start to think about doing whips. Okay? Another coach that I totally agree with that also has said the same thing as me, that he doesn't just tell people how to whip because that kind of indicates they're not ready. That is AJ Catanzaro, probably the top YouTube coach, I would say, in motocross. As you'll see, I'm also quite systematic when I coach, and that maybe comes from me having studied nanoscience and also being an entrepreneur. I did a tech startup after my nanoscience studies. So I've been kind of conditioned to always figure out things in a step-by-step manner. So number 1 out of 7 things, the first thing you should be able to do is to land consistently with both wheels at the same time at the down ramp of a 20 meter or 60 foot jump, because that's the kind of jump you would probably practice whipping on. Or somewhere between 45 and 60 foot, or 15 to 20 meters is a good size of jump to start whipping. Okay? So you need to first of all make sure that you always land consistently with both wheels at the same time, at the same spot on the landing. Okay, but that's not enough. Again, there are 7 habits and skills you should be doing automatically before you should even consider whipping. So that was the first one, okay? Number 2, that is, you should have the skill of panic revving and brake tapping the bike automatically. When you feel that the front is too high in the air, you will brake tap it in a relaxed manner. And if you're flying through the air like this, you should have the reflex of panic revving, holding the gas wide open to bring the front up again. In other words, you should automatically be adjusting the bike with ease without even thinking about it, okay, when you're flying through the air. So check that one off and you are one step closer to be able to be ready to whip your bike, okay? Number 3, probably the most important step that I think many people don't talk about, and that is your mind state. You should be mentally relaxed when you're doing these jumps on around 60 foot or 20 meters. It should be almost trivial. It should feel trivial, so that you're completely relaxed. You're actually like kind of chilling out, just enjoying the process. You don't feel tense or nervous about doing these jumps. Okay? So a relaxed mind state kind of should feel trivial to do these jumps. Then that's really an important step in the right direction. Okay, and that brings us to number 4. Number 4, you should be also physically relaxed, being in the right body position. So that means like not entirely sloppy, okay? You need to understand also the correct body position, which we will get to in the next one. So, but the physically relaxed aspect of like being like loose in the upper body and more tight in like the legs, connection to the bike and core. So also having the right amount of relaxation in the body, because if you're too tense and too scared and all that good stuff, then the bike will not return to straight. It'll like stiffen the process and maybe you'll fly sideways, but it'll not return again because you don't allow the bike to move freely. Okay, because the bike does the whip by itself if you do the correct work on the takeoff. That's another video. Okay, the next one, number 5, which we already touched on, is to understand correct body position and also understanding the dynamics of the body position, like how loose should you be in the arms and shoulders, and how tight should you be when and where with the lower body, the knees and foot pegs and all that stuff. It's also another video. You would have to watch on that. I did that already. It's called being centered, among other things. Number 6, you should be able to switch lines on the takeoff without losing control and getting sketchy or doing something out of control. So taking a slightly left line or a slightly right line on the takeoff is another thing you should be able to do without losing control of what's going on. Okay? Pretty simple, but very essential, as you will understand if you already do whips, or if you're gonna watch my next video on how to whip. Also, the reason why it's important to be able to switch lines is that that's actually what you're doing when you're whipping, is that you're not going in a straight line over the takeoff, you're actually shifting your line and leaning the bike when you're going over the takeoff for whipping. So it's part of the process. Of course, you should start small and do very small changes. It can just be a few inches of shifting your line. Okay. Now the last one, number 7, is being able to visualize your landing and where, in other words, being able to visualize where you're gonna fly to the landing. Already approaching a jump, you should have a quite clear sense of where you're gonna end up on the landing. It's something you maybe already practice, maybe you don't even pay attention to like that kind of stuff, but if you're riding a rutted track, for example, it's important that you land in the least rutted spot on the landing, like the most smooth area. This is something you have to practice, and the reason for that is, as you can imagine from the previous point of switching the lines, if you're whipping really hard, you're actually following a line that aims to jump out of the track. But if you have a clear sense of where your body and center of mass is headed, then when you do point the bike like out of the track and you're going over the jump, then you will have a clear sense of where you're headed, because you feel where you're gonna land and you visualize that. Okay? So practice visualizing where you're gonna land when you go over the jump. So in this example, I'm doing a normal seat bounce racer whip, or tail whip as it's also called. And let's go through it step by step. So before the takeoff, I'm actually approaching the takeoff, cutting across the track from the berm to the opposite side of the track, as you can see. So technically I would be aiming to jump out of the track if I wasn't leaning the bike down. So as you can see here, the front wheel is actually aiming at the banana tree on the way up the takeoff ramp. But because I'm leaning away from the banana tree, leaning to the right, I have a sense of direction that I'm going to land exactly in the middle of the landing. And the physics behind this is that the center of mass of both the bike and the rider has a slight momentum pointing to the right, because you're shifting from leaning vertical to leaning to the right. Then the actual path of flight is going to result in you landing in the center of the landing. This is done by gradually refining your sense of direction when you're jumping, as we talked about. And this is so much fun, by the way. Okay, so that was 7 things you have to work on before you know if you're ready to practice whips. Okie dokie. And I learned to whip at an old age of around 30 years old, because I did like a long break from riding motocross during my nano studies. I studied nanoscience, and then I did the tech startup, and then I got back into motocross riding, even coaching. I got quite good at it. So yeah, I hope you found this useful. Thank you for watching. Let me know in the comments if you're good at whips, if there's anything that you think that I forgot to mention. Otherwise, do everything in small steps. That's how you stay safe riding motocross. Small steps, small increments of trying everything and improving every step. Hope you liked the video. Subscribe, and see you on the next one. If you want to learn more tools and techniques and habits that can improve your life quality and performance and well-being overall, please subscribe. And if you like tropical island holidays, check the link in the description for my 2-time TripAdvisor award-winning training camp, where we train fitness and action sports together while learning to live a healthy lifestyle and, maybe most importantly, have fun at the same time. And if you're really serious about improving yourself, you should definitely check out my full online courses, where I share step-by-step programs on how I develop my own routines over the last 12 years as a CEO working in 4 different countries, while being a successful competitive athlete with more than 20 years of experience in fitness and nutrition. Check the link in the description for that. And in any case, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, be awesome, believe in yourself, and see you on the next one.